Did you miss us? The Extra Point is back and with more sports than ever before, and it all starts right now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Extra Point. We're back in the studio. It's been a while. Tons of stuff going on, but don't worry, we're back for another episode. I'm your host, Griffin Barfield, and with me today I have four incredible panelists. With me today, I have Leo Hart, Patrick Driscoll, Toby Corriston, and Brian Warner. Guys, welcome back to the show. We have so much to talk about, so much to catch up on, so why don't we get right into it? Let's start with men's basketball, college men's basketball, because the NCAA tournament just finished up. The UConn Huskies went back-to-back. They defeated the Purdue Boilermakers in the national championship 75-60. And there was a lot of controversy around it just because of a back-to-back champion and, the storylines of the tournament, all that all went. So we'll hop into our first segment of Buy or Sell. So the first statement is buy or sell. The 2024 NCAA tournament was better than last season's tournament.
I think sells all across the board, right?
Sells all around.
Seriously, yeah.
Gosh,
Let's start off.
what a boring tournament. I mean, the Final Four was uneventful. The Alabama-UConn game was all right, I guess. UConn, they didn't. In the last two tournaments, they haven't lost it, or they haven't won a game by less than double digits, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. I turned the national championship game off at halftime. I went to the library to do work just because, Purdue out there is looking like they're playing a good game, and then UConn is up 9 points at halftime, and you're just like, how did that happen? Purdue didn't go on a big run to start the second half, and the game was just over from there. It was uneventful, except for being a Clemson fan and seeing them make a little run.
Yeah, I'd say if it wasn't for DJ Burns, if you can see it on my whiteboard, it would be all caps if it wasn't for DJ Burns, because there were some good storylines. I really liked NC State's run. It was incredible to see them. But I feel like what happened in this year's tournament, I think we got so spoiled from last year with the drama and the buzzer beaters. You can't forget San Diego State's and just all the improbable runs. So I think we got a little bit spoiled from last year, and that's pretty hard to beat. But repeat champs, always boring.
Yeah, I'm going sell as well. I just thought that it didn't compare to any of the recent tournaments. And like you said, NC State definitely brought it home of them making the Final Four. And I was so excited to watch them, and then they lost by 20. So it was kind of boring at the end. But I think we had a nice upset with Yale and Auburn, but that was in the beginning. I was expecting a little bit more, but nothing compared to anything recent.
Duquesne was nice.
Yeah, that was pretty good. They didn't make a huge run, though.
I know.
I'm going to agree. I'm going to go sell, but I don't agree with everything being said, because as much as I think last year was better, you had I don't think one seed had made it last year.
No, the highest seed was a 4 seed last year in UConn. Yeah.
It was a lot more competitive, a lot more shockers, I guess you could call it. You had number 9 seed with FAU, 2 5 seeds, I believe, with Miami, and unless Miami was 7. No. And San Diego State. You had the San Diego State buzzer beater at the Final Four. But I wouldn't call this one uneventful. We got probably social media sensation and now 25 NIL deal guy Golke. We had him come out. He had an absolute stunner. I think he broke the record.
Bro looked like he was 40.
He did. And then he's called the tax man or something or whatever his nickname is. Now, as much as I think it wasn't as exciting as last year, I wouldn't say it was a complete utter failure. Yes, the Final Four wasn't great. The championship wasn't great. Okay, that was only because of recency. But if you look at the whole thing, you had a lot of upsets. Yale beat Auburn, which was a huge upset and really impressive for an Ivy League school, because that's now 2 years in a row, if not 3. I don't know about 2022. But Princeton last year went on a run to, I think, the Sweet 16. And then now Yale comes into the round of 32, upsetting someone in the SEC after the SEC commissioner says we should limit it, or commissioner, I don't know who he is, but SEC, whoever owns it or runs it right now is the GM. he came out and said that they should not allow schools that small to be in it because they're a disappointment or a disgrace or whatever he mentioned, saying that they're not good. So as much as I would say this wasn't as exciting as last year or the last few years, I do think there were some eventful moments. It just didn't happen in like crunch time.
Yeah, there just weren't that many exciting games.
The buzzer beater.
There wasn't as many.
Everything you
there
throw
was like
in one shining moment.
Yeah, there weren't many buzzer beaters. There weren't that many close games. Like a lot of the games were double-digit games.
I was expecting the Final Four to be more close than any of the other games, and they just weren't like that. They were complete and utter
disappointment.
blowouts.
I think last year 3 of the 4 Elite 8 games were one-score games, and this year there wasn't a single one, or there was one. So
yeah, I enjoyed the beginning of March Madness more than.
Shout out DJ Burns though.
Yeah.
And seeing NC State and Clemson make those runs, it was a lot of fun. And I don't remember exactly all the Sweet 16 teams, and I'm pretty sure there was another 8 or
ACC.
7.
Let's go.
I mean, I think it was, again, I don't think it was as eventful as last year, but I think it was good enough, kind of. It held us over until next year, I feel like. That's about all we got.
Yeah.
That's us to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I agree with all those points. Honestly, seeing a repeat champ kind of isn't the best because you like seeing a little bit of variety. But I have to agree. I loved the first and second rounds. It was just a shame to me that no Cinderella besides NC State really went far. It was just NC State against the world, and I guess fair play. I just didn't like the blowouts either. But that's my take. But we'll move on a little bit. Just pivot a little bit because let's talk about UConn and this team and Dan Hurley and what he's been able to do with this UConn team so far. And he's already said that this team is already focused on winning a 3rd national championship next year. So this might be a way too early prediction. But the next buy or sell is UConn will three-peat as national champions for the first time since 1970.
No,
I can't see that either.
It's just too hard to do. I mean, I don't know who the last team was, the 3P. What was it? Maybe
UCLA.
Was it a Wooden era team?
It was UCLA.
Was it Wooden?
7.
Yes.
No.
11.
Oh.
11 Pete, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a 7-peat.
It was 7
men's,
years.
women's, I think UConn 3-peated.
Yeah.
I think it's Celtics.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, I just think it's too hard to do. I'm not really gonna I'm not really even gonna speak on it too long because it's just too hard to do, and we don't really know what's going on with the portal and whatnot. So it's gonna be kind of hard to scope the scene. But this is just my general reaction. I just think it's so hard to, let alone win 2 in a row, but 3 in a row. That's just a whole different beast. So I'm pretty curious to see.
But I wouldn't count them out either because they took all their 5 starters last year, all graduated, went on to the NBA, and they did it again. So if Dan Hurley stays, especially, if he doesn't go to another coaching job.
Yeah, I think I'm selling just because what Patrick said, it's so hard. You got Klingon gone. You probably have Castle going as well. But they will have more of their starters this year returning than last year. And with the portal, I think the portal is going to help them because who doesn't want to go to the place that just won 2 national championships?
Exactly.
They're such a good school, and they're coming back on the rise. UConn dominated college basketball for so long, and they're coming back. It's hard to win when you're the consensus number 1 seed, and they did it this year. They were a 1 seed all throughout this year. They found a way to do it. They'll be in that same position next year. Nothing's really changing. I think if there was a team that was going to three-peat, this would be the team to do it. Yeah. I just don't see it happening. I think there's too much talent in college basketball right now.
I was going to go sell, but I just want to shake it up. I mean, we've been off for so long. We got to bring spice. I'm going to go buy. And to be honest, I'm kind of buying into it. Yes, it's going to be tough, but we've seen so many different records be broken recently in all different sports. I mean, there are a lot of records that we thought were unbreakable that are all of a sudden, happening again, right? And obviously no one's going to be a 7-peat, but I could see UConn being a 3-peat. I mean, all their major competition this year, at least from my knowledge so far in NCAA, is graduating. I mean, Alabama's losing their best three-point maker in Marcus Sears right now. They have some other good talent coming up. Kentucky's losing their freshman guard, and they lost their coach to Arkansas. I did see that. You have Purdue is losing Zach Edey, so I don't really know if they're going to make as much noise. They might make it to the tournament. I don't know how much noise they're going to make. And Hurley's probably staying. I mean, he said it himself. He wants to build a whole new dynasty in UConn. You're going to have a lot of looks from freshmen, from recruits, from transfers. And if you could do it 1 year, just bringing in 5 new transfers and improving your seeding from 4 to 1, I don't see why you couldn't repeat. And I think the only team that even has a chance is a team led by Dan Hurley, and that right now is UConn. So personally, I would buy it. I think it brings a little spice to our show. I think it just gets off from the abnormal. But I also think it's just, I'm kind of buying into it now. I think they might have the best chance to do it, and I think they will do it.
I think, like Brian said, Dan Hurley, if anyone could do it, it's Dan Hurley and UConn. He did it already with bringing in a load of transfers. And I really don't see any team built up last year. I mean, obviously Duke has all these recruits coming in, but I mean, you've learned over the course of the season that it's more now transfers and experienced players that do well in college basketball, and that's kind of just how it is nowadays. But I'm excited to see how that comes out, especially with the transfer portal, so we'll be following along with that. But we'll move on to the pros. We'll move on to the NBA. The NBA is winding down. The last games are, I believe, this Sunday before the playoffs start next week. And we don't really have an MVP. We don't really have a guy that's kind of shown out. But we have a guy that has plenty of stats. That's Maverick guard Luka Doncic. I believe he dropped 50 yesterday as well, which is something crazy. So buy or sell, Mavericks guard Luka Doncic is the 2023-2024 NBA National Player. If you sell, who's your player?
I'm selling. I think either Jokic is going to win again or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because he's bringing his team up in the West. No one had really expected the Thunder to do well this year, and he's averaging 30. I mean, he's not having a 70-point game like Luka or 50 like last night, but I think he's most improved, and he actually has a chance if the Nuggets don't do as well this year.
I'm going off my same argument that I had for Lamar in the NFL. I'm going off of who affects their team more, and Luka does affect their team. Don't get me wrong. Luka affects their team a lot. But I also think it's going to be Shai. Again, I'm not very well versed in basketball. I started getting caught up in NCAA, and now I'm getting caught up in baseball. But from what I've seen, I think important facts to look at this is that Luka also has a lot of experience behind him, so obviously they know how to win games, they know how to go, and Luka's great. He's very phenomenal. If there was I don't know if they have an offensive player of the year, right? Don't they have an offensive? Or not really? No? Okay. I'm out of it. So, but I'm still going Shai. Don't trust my takes on NBA, but trust this one, right? I'm going Shai. We looked at it. I remember the stat that shocked me was that they're younger, if I'm correct, or just as young as UNC. And they're out there
like
22 points.
Just above it.
Yeah, and I believe they're second right now in the Western Conference.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I think you have to put in a little bit of a fact that the record has shown, because they're a young team that's really good, that's being led by a phenomenal player that is kind of coming into his prime, or kind of in his second year of his prime, however you want to call it. But then you look at the other candidate, Luka, very good, very dominant, but his team isn't really showing that much in the records. So to me,
40 and 26,
But what seed are they? They're like 8th, and I know the Western's competitive, but at the same time,
Brian, you gotta come with the facts, brother.
No, I go off of feeling, and I think Shai shows it. It's
All right.
the eye test.
I'm just worried about Luka's defense.
So I have a
it's not as
question.
good as his offense.
I have a question for you two.
Okay.
And let me get this right. What player would you rather have blind? 33.9 points per game, first in the NBA. 9.8 assists per game, third in the NBA. And 9.1 rebounds per game. Or 30.3 points per game, third in the NBA. 6.3 assists per game, 18th in the NBA. And 5.5 rebounds per game. Which player are you taking?
I know the second one is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, though.
Huh?
Isn't the second one?
The second
Shai
one is
Gilgeous-Alexander?
indeed. So who would you take? Who
Give me
are
the
you
better
taking in
defense.
that situation?
I'm going with Shai.
I'm going with
All
Shai.
right.
I want better
All right.
defense.
Respect.
I want
Hey,
better defense.
there's
One of
something
them-
true.
Luka is
The
so
MVP
slow on
Yeah,
defense.
but he's dropping 50-point games.
But
left
what
and
is that doing?
Losses.
Yeah, they have 40
buying.
games, but they're still 8th. They're on aren't they on the fringe for a play-in tournament?
Yes, but that doesn't matter. He is the best player in basketball right now. Nobody cares about your defense in the NBA. Sorry, it's not a thing.
What do you I'm curious.
I know
Then
they
you-
play.
then you-
That's a bad take. I know
Then
they
you-
play defense
Then
in
you
the
have to go
NBA.
Jokic over Luka at least.
All right,
Well,
then let me ask you these
that's actually
stats.
a good argument.
26.4 points per game, 9th in the
On the
NBA.
number one
12.4
seed in the
rebounds.
West?
All
right, so-
I do think he is the best player in the NBA in Jokic, but he's not the MVP this year.
See,
The MVP is Luka Doncic.
I'm gonna go off of that. See, I'm buying because the NBA is just weird like this. Jokic is the best player in the NBA. I think he should win the MVP. but it's gonna be Luka.
I think they're gonna try and switch it up.
And with all they just want to switch it up because you can talk about how many MVPs LeBron could have, should have, would have had. But I mean, I don't know. I just feel like there's a stigma behind it. Like we saw Giannis and Steph go on a couple
back-to-back
runs.
is boring.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Real.
And I think it's going off of that, and with Luka just exploding onto the scene the last couple of games, I mean, it's just gonna get those voters that little recency bias, and I think he's gonna take it home.
Yeah, he also has a lot more popularity
Exactly.
in the NBA than Shai does right now.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, Shai's going to win Most Improved Player, in my opinion. He's going to, and he can be in the conversation for MVP, absolutely. He's just not quite to that level because he doesn't hold the platform in the NBA that Luka does.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what goes
takes-
into it as well. You have to have the platform as the best player in the NBA versus just, kind of quietly being the best player.
I mean,
He could win it next year if their
I-
team does well this year in the playoffs.
I feel like with Shea, it's really similar to D Rose back in 2011, but yeah, I just don't see him taking it home, and I just think it's gonna be Luka. It's either gonna be Luka or Jokic, and I think instead of having Jokic win back to back to back, they're gonna want Luka to take one home.
Everyone knows Luka magic.
I want to ask a question though. Now, again, like I said, I'm not well versed in this NBA thing because I'm just not really. I like basketball better. All right. If you took Denver Nuggets, Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Mavericks, Dallas Mavericks, right, and you took away Luka, Shea, and Jokic, and you just left them with the teams, which team would come out with the best record?
Probably the Nuggets.
I'd say Denver.
Yeah.
What about between the Mavs? Who would you have it in that order? Mavs and OKC?
Mavs easy.
Mavs.
Yeah.
Mavs.
To me, most valuable player means that your team would do worse if you're not on the court.
Yeah, but
if
that's
you're not
just
there.
that's just not how it's been voted.
It's not how it's voted.
That is the correct definition
Correct.
of most
Yeah.
valuable player, but that's
So-
just not how the award works.
Correct.
Which is why he's not going to win it. So that's the question. Who's going to be the MVP? Shai is not going to be the MVP.
No, but I think
He might
should
not
be.
even if I want him to be,
Yeah.
and the OKC Thunder would be struggling without him.
Yeah,
I think it should be Shai.
I'm not disagreeing
Yeah.
with you
Yeah.
that he elevates his team more than any other player, but that's just not how they vote for the award.
I'm just
Yeah.
thinking the same argument that I had for Lamar. Because
I understand the
saying
argument.
it's
I'm just saying he's
Jokic
not going to be
won
the
it
most
the last
valuable
2
player in the
years.
NBA.
No, I think it probably will be Luka because of his
Thank you.
status and everything.
So you're
but-
buying.
Huh?
So you're buying.
No, I don't want to.
I
I don't
mean,
want to.
NBA MVP voting is tough. It always is, and because there's recency bias, you have to take into effect the 65, which I think is now the thing. MVP, if you want to qualify for the MVP, you have to play at least 65 games. So that's why there's no Joel Embiid. That's why there's no Donovan Mitchell. That's why there's no any player in that caliber. Because I mean, obviously, if it was me, I'd pick Joel Embiid, but. Here we are, but I think it will be tight. I think the three that they said are those three finalists. It should be Shea, it should be Jokic, it should be Luka. They all contribute to their teams in different manners, and I think all of them are some of the most valuable pieces to their teams. But it'll be interesting. We'll have to wait probably another month and a half before we figure out this MVP. So this debate might go on longer and longer. So we'll see what happens. Maybe the playoffs will help it. I don't know. But moving on, we'll move on to the MLB for the first time, I believe. Opening day happened a few weeks ago, and the New York Yankees are the first team to reach 10 wins. They're currently 10-2. Picked up guys like Juan Soto, Alex Verdugo, have guys like Carlos Rodon finally back in pitching and all that. So moving on to our next segment of the show, the hashtag game. What is your hashtag for the New York Yankees being the first team to reach 10 wins?
I don't know if you can read, but sick, bro. Cool. Who cares?
Yeah, I said okay
It's April. I mean, you just don't. There's so much that can happen from here to when it's September and all of the playoff spots are coming to a close. It's a long season. Good for them. I'm happy, New York. I hope you guys are happy. But with baseball and injuries and trade deadlines and who even knows who knows what could happen. So good for them. They're on a good start, but let's see how long they can hold it because baseball is just so unpredictable and long.
Hashtag all sit down, kind of a play on hashtag all rise for Aaron Judge. I mean, he has been awful this start of the season, and the Yankees are still 10-2. He's hitting 195 with 2 home runs, just not doing much for the team, but he's had people picking him up. Juan Soto leads the team with 11 RBIs. Anthony Volpe is hitting, I think, 375 right now. Like, they're finding ways to win games, but again, it's the start of the season. But this is a good look for the Yankees as, you know, they've been a little bit on uneven footing these last few years. Where are they going to finish? The AL East is always one of, if not the best division in baseball. So it's still really early, but I think the Yankees have a lot to look forward to. And I think they're only going to get better as the season goes on, especially if they make moves around the deadline.
All right, I'm kind of like with everyone. I'm just like, okay, like that's what you're going to give me. And then I tried drawing the one at the bottom, but I don't know how it actually went. So you're just sitting there like this. Like, all right, if this was football, wonderful, great, congratulations. If this was, NBA, not a bad start, but this is baseball. Like 12 games.
160 games.
12 games is what? What is that, like a 16th of the season almost?
Ain't even 10%.
Not even 10%.
Yeah.
And you're going to sit here and go like, oh, great, congratulations. Yeah, the Rays went on a 13-0 run last year, and what did they do? They ended up not only getting out in the first round, they lost to the Orioles, my team, but the Orioles got swept in the division series, looked like awful, like they just looked inexperienced. So you're going to tell me here and go like, yeah, the Yankees are so good. They got 10 wins for, the first team to 10. All right, hit 50, and then we'll start talking. Like that's how I'm here right now.
They just have one of the most talented rosters in
They do.
baseball.
Yeah,
They're very
they do.
talented.
They're hard to beat. They're just deep, and they're just going to get better as the season goes on, in my opinion.
Well, if I'm correct, last year looking into it, many people had them winning the AL East because they had such a talented roster. But injuries happen and stuff happens.
Bet against, when you look at their roster on paper, it's hard to bet against them.
Like the Dodgers.
But anything can happen in
They
baseball.
just got to chill with that barking, though.
Or have you heard the roll call where they like yell at each person?
Yeah,
I think that's kind of cool.
That's
but,
an
like,
awesome tradition.
I kind of like that. I think that's kind of cool.
Griffin's shaking his head as the fellow Mets fan
Yeah.
over there.
I said okay, and I mean like the Red Sox are like 7-4. Like they have a winning record, and they're supposed to be
team's
the
over
worst
5.
team in the MLB. They just have a stacked lineup. That's what everybody's overhyping them. And they have the 3rd best odds to win the World Series. I just think it's so early.
It's too early.
We'll see come.
See, I'm well versed in this aspect. Ish. Better than NBA.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, fair point. We're not even 10% of the way through the season, but yeah, Toby makes a good point. The Yankees have one of the best lineups in terms of quality that they haven't really had to go overcome any injuries. I mean, they had to overcome some adversity with Judge, but that's about it. And obviously, we'll follow it as it goes along, of course. But it's not starting hot, it's about finishing hot, and you saw that with the Texas Rangers and how they were able to win the World Series. So we'll see what happens with them. We'll see what happens with the MLB as a whole. We'll move back to NBA really quickly. We'll talk about the Boston Celtics, who seem to have just be running through the East this season. They clinched the number 1 seed in the East before any other team in the conference clinched a playoff berth. Yeah, they're that good this season. I believe that they have 65 wins. I don't remember off the top of my head.
62 wins. Yeah, 62 wins.
62 wins. It's at the bottom. I don't even know. So the hashtag game is the Boston Celtics clinched the number 1 seed in the East before any other team. What is your guys' hashtag to that?
I got banner 18, but we'll only find that out if they show up in the playoffs. They obviously show up in the regular season, but will Jason Tatum actually contribute to the team in the playoffs? We won't know until it comes in June. And we just lost by like 30 or 20 to the Bucks last night, so that's got me a little scared. But if Jaylen Brown uses his left hand, I think we'll be fine too.
Yeah, for this one, I put CU in June. I'm that confident they're going to be playing in the NBA Finals, especially after the whole Giannis scare. I know it didn't reveal any crazy Achilles damage, but I mean, he's going to be banged up coming in the playoffs, and I just don't see who's going to be like stopping them, honestly. I mean, 62 wins, like, yeah, you can say it's a regular season, but I just love everything about this Boston team. They're just so balanced, and if Tatum's playing well, I can't see anyone realistically stopping them.
Yeah, I made a joke. It's not the heat, it's the humidity. That's what they always say about Miami. It's what gets you. And that's the only team that I see beating Boston until the NBA Finals right now.
Playoff Jimmy Butler.
Something about the Heat
playoff Jimmy Butler.
just get them going.
Playoff
But the
Jimmy.
Celtics, have a much better team this year than they have had in the past. It doesn't all come down to Tatum and Brown. They have players.
Kristaps Porzingis
Yeah.
is like
He's
on a
huge for them.
redemption arc.
Like
he
they,
did not do well on any other team.
like
He
Tatum
just fits so well.
needs to play well in the series for them to win, but he can have a couple bad games and they can still find a way to win a game even when he's not playing well. So I think they have the best chance out of any of the other years to go win the NBA Finals. I don't think they're going to do it, but as long as they don't see meet the Heat in the first round, I think they're going to have no problem making it to the finals.
And Kristaps out of injury, he always finds a way to get injured again. So.
Now, if the Yankees hit 62 wins and they were the first team to hit it, now you can start talking. But until then, I'm going to go with my hashtags.
They do.
I don't know. I wanted to take a shot at the Yankees. I don't like them. But what is the light? All right, my bad. All right, hashtag wow was my first hashtag. And then I just wanted to go fun. I was like, hashtag wow, hashtag go green. And then I kind of went on the Heat, the Miami Heat one. And I said, no Heat, no beat. Because the only team that's been able to take down the Boston Celtics recently, at least in the playoffs, is the Heat. I mean, they've been consistently taking them down. But I do think this is very impressive. I mean, this is like, I don't remember any time in my life that I've actually been watching NBA. And yes, I do watch NBA, but no time in my life that I've actually watched NBA that I've seen a team clinch like first.
The Warriors.
The Warriors 73
When they won
and
73 games.
But the
Did
thing,
they clinch it before any other person? Like,
I mean, they
Yes.
still won 73 games.
but the thing is,
no.
that
I've
they,
seen that. I'm saying, did they clinch it before anyone else clinched the playoff berth?
Yes.
They did.
I have no idea, to be honest, but it's much more impressive than what.
Oh, it's much more.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not impressive. I'm saying I just have never seen a team or remember a team that had clinched first before any other teams clinched the playoff.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to remember the Celtics are playing in the East.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm stating a fact. I just have not.
You got a banged up Giannis.
Mickey Mouse
He was
division.
like, calm down.
Mickey
All
Mouse.
right, whatever. Okay. So
We're giving Brian a hard time today, guys.
I'm just saying.
But the thing
that I
is
think
that
it was
if the
I'm
Warriors lost 3-1 in the finals and they went 73-9, then the Celtics better watch out
I still don't see.
with the best record in the NBA.
I mean, we talk about this with my friends, and I'm like, I see Boston making it to the finals. I don't see them winning it. I just don't trust them yet. I don't care how many people you put on that roster. I don't trust them.
Well, yeah, but you know what? They got to win at some point. And this conversation is going to I just said they're going to lose, and I think they will. But this conversation happens time and time again until a team wins it. And, I think we're going to say the same thing over and over. I don't trust them. I don't trust them. I don't trust them. And then they're going to win it. Because it's been, 4 years now where it's like, Celtics are going to win. Yeah, I don't trust them. And look what they did. Mm-hmm. So at some point, that has to end. I think they're too good of a team not to get a final.
I would not be surprised if they
But it's
won.
hard to beat the Nuggets.
Yeah.
It's either going to win or end good or end bad. And the ending good is that you get one.
What do you do? Oh my! You win or you lose. Oh.
And I don't see him winning. I'm sorry. I just don't see it. I don't trust them yet. They have to show me in the playoffs that they can go in there.
Brian.
Especially in the finals.
Gosh, it's like the same conversation.
You still
we had
love
with the
Brian.
Ravens. I don't trust Lamar, and somebody's all in on them.
Yeah. But
I mean, I will say this: the Miami Heat are the 8th seed right now. If they go through the play-in, if somehow nothing goes crazy in the play-in game, Heat Celtics round 1 next week, which would be something crazy to think about. But I agree with all your points. I think you talk about the Celtics all the time, like, oh yeah, like this is their year, and it doesn't happen. Maybe it isn't their year, but they're so far ahead of every other team. They're 14 games ahead of the 2 seed. They're 14 games ahead of the Bucks. They picked up the pieces they needed. Their coach has another year under his belt. I think you might see things a little bit differently towards the end of the season. But we'll follow that over the course of the playoffs. We'll do a little playoff prediction and all that. But that will be next week. But anywho, let's move on to women's college basketball. The South Carolina Gamecocks won it all. They defeated Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes in the final, which was a stat that I found crazy, was the women's national championship game was watched more than the men's game. I don't know the exact numbers. I think it was like 17 to 12 million.
It was 18 versus 12.
18 versus 12. That, I mean, incredible. What is your guys' hashtag? I know it's a rival, South Carolina being a rival, but what is your hashtag to the women's national championship game and how it ended?
I just want to get this over because I know I'm going to be trashed on. So hashtag team highlighters. That's what I'm going to put on right here. And I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a team that they use. It's all walk-on guys called the highlighters. And to be honest, they've won 2 rings. I don't care what you say. Team highlighters have gotten 2 rings in the last few years. So have South Carolina's women's. But, I mean, they prepped them.
You want to explain what they do?
Oh, yeah, my bad. Sorry. So basically, Team Highlighters is a group of guys that are not on any basketball team. They might be on club, maybe. But they're basically a bunch of walk-ons that come out and they practice against the girls to get them game ready and season ready. And every time that South Carolina wins a ring, Dawn Staley, thank you. I'm trying to remember. Dawn Staley gives not only, obviously, the girls their rings, but also gives this Team Highlighters their rings. And I think it's like 15 guys, something like that. It's like a basketball team, just not to that level. So, I mean, obviously, they're doing something right over there with Team Highlighters. Maybe Clemson can use the Team Highlighters. We have no idea. But it's working well. They got their rings. The girls got their rings. The girls won their second one in 3 years. And I think they really have they have a phenomenal program anyway. And their freshmen led all scoring, which was impressive. I mean, 19 points as a true freshman, and you led the entire South Carolina team, which I think will have multiple first-round picks probably, at least in a few years. So.
Hashtag Dog Staley. I mean, just what a coach. You don't have a top 10 player in the country on your team, maybe fringe top 10 now after the tournament, and you just find a way to get production out of everybody. I think they had 7 players averaging over 9 points coming into the season. Nobody averaged double digits, though, coming into the tournament. It was this crazy stat line of just everybody does what they need to do on the floor, and I think that is a huge testament to the coaching. And on your point about the highlighter team, just about every college women's basketball team does have one. It's like a practice team. The guys come in, they learn the offense, and I think Dawn Staley, she's talking about how the guys team actually goes in and watches film on the other team so that they can learn their offense and then run it against the team in practice. So yeah, huge help to them. Clemson does have a team, but yeah, they do tremendous work over there, and I think a lot of it has to do with Dawn Staley coming in and just absolutely turning around that program. And I see them winning a lot more national championships here in the upcoming years.
Definitely. I mean, it was so impressive to see, like, especially after seeing that whole team just get drafted so early to the NBA and just taking all these freshmen and still just pure dominance the whole year. But, yeah. But I'm going to go in more of the broader scope for this. I'm going to say, hashtag, are you not entertained? This game was so much fun to watch as just a sports fan. And it was just phenomenal. It was phenomenal to see. Just the buzz around it. Everything on Twitter. All the pundits on ESPN talking about this game. The buildup of it. The whole Final Four itself was amazing. Then we talk about the 17 million, 18 million viewers. It was just electric. And as a sports fan, it's just really, really good to see the growth of that women's basketball has seen. And that can be thanks to so many people like Dawn and Caitlin Clark and Paige Buckets. Shout out Paige Buckets. But I'm just talking about more in the broader scope, though. It's just great for women's basketball to see all the coverage it got. And it couldn't have happened without the two names in this category, Dawn Staley and Caitlin Clark. So shout out them.
Yeah, I'm going hashtag Dynasty. Other than all their freshmen scoring and it kind of being a team play kind of game, I just want to talk about their defense on Caitlin Clark. I know she had 18 points in the first half, but the way that they came out after halftime, and I think it was at the end of the fourth quarter, 4 minutes left, she was scoreless. They would not let her get a shot off, and it was just really good. They know how to be coached, and they know that like Dawn Staley had a really good game plan coming in, and they knew how to lock her up. And it was one of the few teams that actually decided to play defense and go over the screen and not under and kind of step up on her. And it was really fun to watch as like someone who loves to watch defense and see how they kind of played that out.
Dare I say that Caitlin Clark is one of the most unguardable college basketball players since like Zion Williamson. I know it's very different styles of play. Like obviously Zach Edey's 7'4", so that's just a different style. But like when it comes to that position, like I feel like the last player to have this much buzz and like unguardability was Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
And
I would agree with that.
I don't know the last women's player who had
probably Maya Moore. Probably Maya Moore in my opinion.
But not even, like with all the social media and stuff, like
she is the biggest
like
platform in
crazy.
college
She's
basketball.
awesome. She's awesome.
Caitlin Clark has absolutely just brought a whole new crowd to like just WNBA and college, like women's college basketball.
And so many people are going to watch the WNBA now because of her.
I think 30. She's
the
pretty,
Fever
she's
are
like
36 of their 40 games.
Yeah, the games are going to be televised. Yeah.
I will note this: if it gets brought up in the extra point later in the fall, just wait and look and see Indiana Fever tickets. attendance, everything, just because of Caitlin Clark.
Tickets,
So
sold out.
stay tuned
They
for
also
that.
have,
Stay tuned for that.
what is it, Aaliyah
Imagine they don't draft her.
Aaliyah Boston?
Aaliyah Boston?
Yeah,
they had her
she had
last
the
year
first
too.
pick too from
So
South
Indiana-
Carolina.
Yeah, from South Carolina.
It's going to be like insane to watch those two work. I mean, I don't know how good Boston's been in the WNBA. I feel like she's been doing pretty well.
Yeah, she was one of the best. Yeah.
Man,
really
shout out just women's sports though. Seriously.
I mean, yeah, I'd second that. Shout out women's sports. And, on Caitlin Clark, I think there have been several WNBA teams already that have changed the place they're playing. I think it was the Aces, the Las Vegas Aces. They're now playing in the Crypto Arena. They're now playing in Vegas's main stadium to have seats for Caitlin Clark, and I think it already sold out, which is crazy to think about. That like the best team in the WNBA is already selling out because of a draft pick that hasn't gotten drafted yet. It's just crazy stuff to think about. But credit to John Staley, credit to all the players that were brought up during that discussion. I think it's incredible for women's basketball, women's sports. This is what the WNBA needed, and I'm excited to see what it brings up. To wrap up, though, we'll do a little bit of NBA pick'em. We have 2 games over the next few days, right before the season ends, and we'll start in the East. We'll start at the top of the East. The New York Knicks, 47-32, traveling to the TD Garden. They'll be facing the top-seeded Celtics, who we've talked about already. They'll be playing on Thursday. Guys, who takes this one?
C's across the board.
Celtics.
I don't know. I just want to screw with you all and be
No,
like,
this.
The Celtics are the best team in the.
Especially-
yeah, but you said it yourself.
Especially
you
at
can lose
home.
the best team.
At
This
home.
is the regular season.
Yeah.
Julius Randle out for the season, basically.
Yeah. Like
Jalen Brunson's got to score 40 a game to even.
I'm
the
just
main
saying,
I would like to
win
say
it.
I picked this. Look, it's C's at home. They just dropped a big game against the Bucks by a lot. They're gonna be coming in hungry, and another bonus. Kristaps playing his old team. C's.
I honestly, I just want to pick the
even
Knicks
close.
just to shake it up.
I think it's going to be a
Not even-
blowout.
I don't think there's even
I
a
mean,
conversation
The
here.
Celtics like B team could beat there.
Honestly picking, I'd probably pick Celtics. I mean, Celtics are just on a tear. But, like, I kind of just want to shake it up and go Knicks. Like,
Okay.
why not?
Okay.
Like, I just want to sit there and do it.
Stop you.
Now, if it was actually at New York, there would be, like, an argument slightly.
They're getting
The
30
Knicks?
pieced.
But being in Boston, I mean, it's like, I feel like it's like an
New York versus Boston, they want to defend their home court, and they're the much better team.
Hey man, we don't know. I'll throw on the game while I'm making dinner just for you.
We have
I think you're going to see
spice
the
in this show.
Celtics up 30 and turn it off pretty quick.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
There'll be
Pull something. We don't know. I just want to see it. Just want to shake up the show a little bit.
There'll be a discussion in the group chat for sure about what goes on in that game. I believe the Knicks are 3rd in the East right now. So if a win there, I think they would be 2nd because like 2nd to 7th in the East is like 3 games apart. So that'll be an interesting one. But another interesting one is out west. We have the number 6 and the number 8 teams in the West playing each other, and they are 2 games apart from each other. So still a lot of stuff that could happen. It's the 6-seeded Pelicans, 47-32. They'll be facing the Sacramento Kings in Sacramento. Sacramento 45-34. Play-in game implications going on during this game. Who takes it?
Pelicans. I love every single thing that Zion has done this season. It's crunch time. He's going to put the team on his back. Simple enough.
I'm going Kings. De'Aaron Fox is having a record year for himself, personal best, and their team is pretty solid. They're trying to get into the top 2 spots of the play-in. I think they're going to stick with the play-in of how they perform in the end, but it's going to be a pretty good game. The Pelicans are trying to keep that 6th seed and stay out of the play-in, so I kind of see this going like a back-and-forth game. But the Kings need to make that final push in the regular season before the playoffs, and home court advantage is everything for the Kings, so I'm going with home team.
I got the Pelicans. No more double-double Sabonis. Like he lost that. Obviously, I mean, there's good odds he'll pick up another one, but maybe it throws him off a little bit losing that last game. And then I think Zion Williamson and Ingram, like they're a really good duo. I
Love
think
them together.
I think
They're finally connected.
Yeah,
We
they've
expected
connected. They're looking good. I think this is a big game for them with the playoff implications. This is going to be a big test just to see, all right, can you produce when it's game time, when you have to go win a game, and it's not just a regular season game. So I got them in this game, but it will be interesting to see, and it'll be back and forth.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of like leaning, because I was leaning towards Pelicans, but you're also in Sacramento. And obviously, light the beam, go crazy, right? I mean, As much as I want to pick Kings because they're home, I think I'm going to lean more towards the Pelicans. Just simply, I think they're on a tear. I think they're doing really well. I've heard that it's been a lot better. I'm probably going to pick Pelicans. I've heard that Zion's done a lot better since his whole stuff off the.
You're hearing,
off the
you're hearing a
cheeseburger
lot of
diet.
stuff right now.
Because I'm not watching much of it because it's not as exciting as March Madness or baseball for that matter. It's actually a good watch. I had to bring it in the show at some point. I've been waiting 2 years for this now. So, but yeah, I'm going to go Pelicans. I think Pelicans win a close one. I think it's going to be a fight. Obviously, 6 and 8 seed. They're trying to get, because they play in 7, 8, 9, 10. So you're trying to get out. Kings are trying to fight their way up and out of the play-in. And then the Pelicans are obviously trying to stay out. So I have Pelicans winning. Close one, though. I say 4 points.
I mean, no matter who you're playing in the NBA, especially out west, you are playing a dog because the Lakers and the Warriors and the 9 and 10 seeds. So no matter if you're a 1 seed, you're going to have a tough test. But that game's going to be a fun one. Next week we'll go into a little bit more of playoffs and who we like and maybe some series upsets. But that's all for next week, so stay tuned for that. But before we go, it is Masters Week, the greatest golf tournament in the world. So before we go, is there any golfer that you have favorited or any that we should be following over the course of the weekend? I mean, Patrick, you were pretty excited to show yours. So why don't you start?
2 words. Tiger Woods. That's it. He loves the game of golf. He's the best dude of all time. You never know what's going to happen. That's it. That was more than 2 words, but Tiger Woods.
I picked Tiger Woods too, but I don't really watch golf, so.
Mallet Scotty.
Only one I really knew.
Scotty Scheffler is the best golfer in the world right now. He's got the shortest odds ever to win the Masters at plus 460 since Tiger Woods in 2013. Tiger's the only one to ever have shorter odds than him when he was plus 350, which was absolutely insane back then. But Scotty Scheffler is by far the favorite to win this, and you can't bet against him the way he's playing right now. Switched putters recently. He's won 2 out of 3 tournaments, I believe, since he's switched putters. He came tied for second last week. He's just on a tear, and this course suits his game well. He won it 2 years ago. He knows how to win. I don't see anybody else having a chance.
So based off of everything I've scouted in the last 30 seconds, I'm going with whoever scores the least. I honestly have no idea. I haven't watched golf. I'm just going to be honest.
Tiger.
One sport that I've watched less than NBA is golf. I'm just going to be 100% honest with that. Yeah. Just watch it. Enjoy
Tiger.
it. Relax. It's all fun and games. I love it. When you go to golf, it's competitive, but it's a fun competitive. Because they just talk with each other until you get one of those people that just starts.
Unless somebody I know.
I'm just saying, when you start talking strategy.
So that's a fun. The Live storyline is fun. It's less prominent than it has been in the last few years, but different league. Last year, John Rahm won it, who has now moved over to Live Golf.
Crazy.
And you got Brooks Koepka, who always shows up in the Masters. He's one of the best players, but. Augusta National had their fun with the pairings and put him with possibly one of the slowest players on the PGA Tour in Brian Harman. And Brooks Koepka, if there's one person who hates slow play, it's him.
And he'll be vocal.
And he will be vocal. Brian Harman likes to sit there and waggle his club about 20 times. Just like Brian on the extra point, he likes to bring up about 20 different points on a topic.
It's fun.
So we got.
I mean, right now, you want to I'm just saying.
So that'll just be a fun storyline to watch. But lots of great storylines coming into the Masters. I won't bore you guys with all of them.
Though he may be taking shots, I would trust this guy. He actually knows what he's talking about.
Scotty Scheffler is the favorite.
Tiger.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, golf is crazy. You never know what could happen. Tiger won it 4 or 5 years ago, and nobody expected him to. So that'll be an exciting tournament for sure. But that's going to do it for us on this episode of The Extra Point. From Leah Hart, Patrick Driscoll, Toby Corsten, Brian, whoever scores the least, Warner. I'm Griffin Barfield.
Saying, it works every time.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Special thank you to Connor back there and Tigervision for getting this all set up. And yeah, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week with another episode of The Extra Point. See ya.
Deuces.